district board meeting, we were talking just about, like, how to approach, like, being part-time, and I said, honestly, guys, it's like, you want to always have somebody be responsive to the telephone and emails anyway, because once you start putting people off, they get frustrated and then they're not supporting you.
Correct.
And Eliza Ledbetter had been invited by Jan Hooper to this meeting, and Eliza's like, oh, yes, and she started talking about, I can't believe how many phone calls I've made this week, and it's like, I just got an answering machine. She was like really frosted. So.
She was upset because she didn't get.
Well, not me, just saying
No.
she made
In
a lot of
general.
phone calls that week, and it's like nobody seems to answer the phone anymore, and it just made her very frustrated. So.
I was told that there are 2 new doctors. No.
Yeah, that's the one, that's the problem, is that,
I called the travel clinic because I have to get shots for my trip, and it was an answering machine, and they're like, we'll call you back within 72 hours. I'm like, 72 hours? And then they did call me back,
Yeah.
like, I think 2 days later,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get an appointment until September 5th. Now, my trip is on the 24th
oh,
of
where
September.
are you going?
Yeah.
I'm going to Africa.
Oh, wow, are you going on like a group safari thing? Great.
Yeah.
So did you take September 5th?
Yes, I did, but I'm thinking, Lord, if I need a series of shots,
Boosters, yeah.
because I know one of my parents' friends just went to Africa and she had to get rabies shots, and I'm like, you have to get that like over a period of weeks.
Yeah.
So did you call DeRubio?
Nancy DeRubio.
Nancy DeRubio used to do it.
She's a nurse practitioner, right?
She's a nurse practitioner. She gave shots, and then there was some medication we had to take that were tablets, and she gave us the tablets.
I wonder if she's still working. What do you call? How do you get a hold of her?
She's on Facebook.
I know you had given me that name before. I even thought I would call Dartmouth, their travel clinic, but someone else said that they're booking me out too, so.
I called the neurologist, Dr. Sarani.
Yeah.
They said he's booking in January. And I'm like,
Next year?
I said, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. You've got to be.
Not if you have a concussion.
Well, it's like, my point of care, they're booking out in October, and I said, well, how come? And he said, because he's only here 1 day a week. So that's kind of what happens, is they're like visiting at several places.
So it's almost, so Dr. Cal Martin, who I used to have,
Oh, he's gone?
but he went into his own practice,
Right.
Oh, did he?
but it's a private
Oh,
thing. So like you pay a certain amount every month,
yeah.
and you can see him unlimited. It's almost worth it these days.
I didn't know that. I thought he was like, maybe I'll
No,
look into that.
he just went to private practice, and I think it was 200 a month, or 250. And my parents were like, well, that's really reasonable, because they know other people that have done that. And you could, that, it's unlimited, and your time with them is unlimited.
Yeah.
And it's almost.
Do they
worth
keep
it.
records? Seriously, do they keep records?
Yeah.
They must.
You wanna go to him?
No, I took care of it already, thank you.
I mean, really, you could cancel your
Nope, I already.
extra Medicare policy.
Yeah, really, there you go.
And just do that.
Or better yet, just not get sick.
Well, good luck.
Reasonable.
It's not even getting sick, it's if it's an accident or something, 'cause,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Draper, you ready?
Ready to go?
Hi, Gray.
Hi, Deb.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I forgot to take a picture of my canoe.
Ah, that's right. Okay,
I'll
don't
do
worry about it.
I'll do it. If it stops raining and the bugs go away.
Oh, the bugs.
And she can find her canoe because it's overgrown
No,
with
it's right in the back of my house. It's actually,
visible.
yeah, it actually takes the drip away from my house.
It was a lot cheaper than putting whatever you.
Gutters.
A drip line in.
Gutters. There is a drip line, it doesn't work. Anyway.
Okay, so you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Laconia Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. I'm Dean Anson.
Deb Williams?
Bob Harrington?
Lisa Moore.
Gray Draper.
Okay, good. We have a quorum, so we'll start off by saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, so we have the minutes from May 21st that we are going to review first.
I move we accept the minutes of May 21st Conservation Commission meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Any comments?
There was a little blip, where did I see it?
Under May 10th, Earth Day gathering,
Yeah,
if the next to the last sentence in that paragraph, it said, there's a T instead of a 1,
it rained
In the
on
May?
May 10th.
Toth, May Toth. That's one of the disadvantages of May Toth, it rains.
Do you see it, Gray?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gray. Okay, now we're gonna review the June 4th minutes.
I move we accept the Conservation Commission minutes of June 4th as presented.
Second?
Okay. I had,
a couple.
okay, go ahead.
Under 9.1, on the second page, it says D. Williams raises concerns were raised about the potential introduction of invasive species during the event. Raises concerns about, so those second raised doesn't need to be there. Got it?
Got it.
Okey-doke. Thank you.
And under 9.1, was it Jen Kreutzer who said that she was there, or was it Deb?
It was Deb, and
Right.
yeah, because Jen emailed me and had to switch it.
Okay,
Good.
all right, good. Any other comments? Oh, under 11, a motion was made by, and I think Lisa made to approve a budget of up to $100 for purchasing handbooks. Is that right, or was it Deb?
11.
She seconded it.
So
Is that-
Deb made the original motion, and then it was amended to say, and then Lisa said we should go up to $100 in case of shipping, and then that's the motion that was voted on.
Okay. Just the, you got the names, so that's the thing. Okay, any other? Any other comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Right.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, okay. The checklist, the infamous checklist. So did anybody see anything on this that needed to be? And Gray, I forget where you said we should attach this.
So if you want, this would go into the proposed changes for the site plan and subdivision regulations.
Subdivision regulations?
Yeah, so that it could be enforced across developers coming to the planning office.
So what if it's not a subdivision? What if it's just,
If it's just a single-family home, that would fall under the site plan size. That's why it's site plan and subdivision. So these are regulations for
it's
all.
too, okay. So, we ran into something last week where, well, you know. A certain business was repaving their parking lot and didn't specifically have a permit from planning, didn't specifically have a permit from DPW. And because, I was told because it was already a parking lot and they were just redoing it, that they didn't have to, I don't know if they didn't have to get a permit, but that was like my understanding. The problem is, when you're backed up against the river, and then you have a fence, and then a swale on the other side that runs to the river, why shouldn't you have to do best practices? Why, you know, there's one silt sock there, but it doesn't completely go across the river, and it does not go by the fence at all. So, how do we ensure that, you know, projects like that still have to follow some kind of best practice?
So that would be kind of the goal with having this be adopted into the site plan and subdivision regulations, is so that they would have to abide by the
But if they
checklist.
didn't have to get a permit, or, I mean, there would be no reason for them to come in to see you guys.
They usually, so I would have to talk to Tyler or Rob to figure out exactly what the situation is with that business, but typically, whenever you want to do paving of what was impervious surface and make it pervious, you have to get a driveway permit with DPW.
Right.
I know Scott went out and checked out
I know,
a
and he
certain business.
Was not happy with us that we were asking questions about it.
The lumber guy,
No.
Yeah, yes.
the local business owner was not happy.
I don't know.
Okay.
We got some pushback, but it was, like I said, how do we get these businesses and everyone else, especially if you're waterfront, to
Yeah.
understand the ramifications? That, I don't know, it's just very disheartening,
Yeah.
especially when I have to look at it every day from the boat ramp. I don't feel like, I mean, yes, they had one silt sock down, but there was clearly a part right next to the river that, where whatever was in that parking lot was gonna run right off into the river. And I just feel like people should be aware of that. They should understand that the river, I mean, the lakes and the rivers that's our gold in this region. If the stuff is not, the water's not clean, people aren't gonna come.
When were you most recently there?
Today.
Today?
Over there today?
I had to stop and see Meg, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have they, I know they had some area that was already paved and then the rest was dirt. Have they paved new area?
They didn't see, it was raining today, so I don't think they did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me follow up about them with,
I don't wanna beat a dead horse, because
yeah, but I'd
Because
also like to understand.
people were not happy that we were asking questions. But to me, it's not, it's a matter of best practice. What,
Right, yeah.
go ahead and pave, that's fine, but please,
Definitely put something down.
don't have it so that it's gonna run right into the river.
Right. Yeah, let me follow up with Tyler about it.
It's so tenuous right there, because I guess it's in the performance zone, and I thought it was 15 feet they had to be from the river, but other people told me only 5, and I'm like, 5 feet from the river?
Is that a performance zone site?
There is a district that I believe is the overlay district, and that runs on the banks of the Winnipesaukee River.
Yep.
And that's 15 feet.
I thought it was,
Buffer.
I thought it said 15 feet, and then someone else told me
But
5,
buffer.
and I was like,
Doesn't sound right.
no, 15 I think is the correct
That's what I.
number. But it
was
is, and
understanding.
it pertains to the river from Opeechee to Winnisquam.
Yeah.
So I think Deb has a good point in that it's,
I mean, maybe,
how can we educate the residents, the business owners, so that they say, oh, this is what I should do because it's the right thing to do. I don't know what the law is, I don't care what the regulations say, this is the right thing to do.
I guess it's maybe an article in the paper, maybe flyers, I don't know. Lisa used to do flyers for people along some of the creeks.
And we also did canvassing, just, so, put something in the paper and then go to each business or residents that you think should know about them. I think the last time we did that was when we did drain stenciling.
Right.
And we canvassed the neighborhood with flyers about, please don't pour oil down the drain and stuff.
Trying to think which, there were just some awards given out to a couple towns for what they're doing to preserve their water quality, because they also have, their reservoirs or their drinking water is a lake
Is-
or,
In New Hampshire?
yeah.
Mhm.
And one of them was cited because of what they were doing with their storm drains. They were making it so that the storm drains weren't going right into the lake. I mean, there's a lot of little things we could do, but it's just, it's very hard to, to be on the lake, to just look at the shoreline, and there's just so many places where,
I wonder if the Chamber of Commerce would be willing to help us get the word out too,
that's a good idea.
if we're targeting businesses particularly.
Yeah, that's true. Good thought. Anyway, not to interrupt on this, but, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to comment on change in the checklist?
Did we get enough helpful tools? Was there anything else we needed to look up in that, Gray?
Last meeting, it was decided to just remove the links
The one
that
that's
weren't
wasn't
working.
working? Okay.
Yeah, there was a couple, and
Okay, so do we want to put this to bed?
I mean, it's certainly more inclusive than what it was. I think there's always going to be room for improvement as years go, There's gonna be different things that come up, but I think this is a pretty strong start.
Well, do we want like a maintenance plan for this? Do we say we
That would be a good idea, yeah.
vote into, I don't know if that, Rob may not think that is appropriate for us to vote in a maintenance schedule for checking links and stuff, but
It's just maintenance, like you say.
I'm just saying, okay.
Well, it's true, because from the first time we did this, some of those links were not good that we had to take out, so.
So, I think a year is probably, each March or whatever.
Do
'Cause
we,
it says
do
March,
we
yeah.
feel like I mean, cause you're more familiar with some of the things, but
Mhm.
I feel like this is a good start, like, say, for the new development up at the state school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything further that we need to think about with that? I know.
So Gray, is this checklist going to apply to the state school property?
If it were to get adopted in time, so I'm not sure. I don't think so because they have already gone to TRC and
That's
they're gearing up for planning board, so
Yeah.
they will be already in their project by the time this is adopted.
So this is just a checklist though, so I mean, are they going to be coming to us, or do we need to go to like a planning board meeting and bring up our concerns there? For items?
I'm not sure yet. I think the state school might be a little bit of a longer process than your typical project, going through the different commissions and boards. So from what I understand, they're kind of going through like a first round and a second round. So this is just to get their approval to do a project on the land, and then they will have to submit their actual designs and go through it again.
And because I haven't really been paying attention, I apologize if you don't mind me asking questions. Is the construction going to be phased, and are they only going to be presenting a phase at a time?
Yes.
So we will not see the whole build-out plan in one.
I think, from my understanding, they already have their phases built out and planned out, so they'll be presenting, when they come through for their second round, they'll present all three phases together.
Okay.
That's what I understand to be happening.
Were you at the TRC meeting yesterday?
No, I was manning the office.
Lucky you.
So there's a public hearing on Tuesday, right?
That's what you
Monday.
said, yeah.
Oh,
Is
Wait.
it Monday or Tuesday?
You said it was Tuesday.
I thought it was at the city council meeting, right?
So there is a public hearing, and then there's their actual planning board meeting. So if you're talking about the city council meeting, then yes, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I'm confused.
so maybe after we hear their presentation at the public hearing, we can better target comments.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know, for that site, drainage is gonna be a big thing. I mean, that's the only thing I can tell you about drainage and, and either keeping it on site or,
Yeah, I'm thinking for Opeachy and Winnisquam,
yeah,
both sides.
yeah.
But, is there performance zoning for the state school property?
I don't think so. Supposed to be.
I would have to double check that. I'm not positive. I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay. Okay,
I have a follow-up, but not about the state school property. It was about the property across the street that Joya Hughes and the department, mayor, talking about building housing.
I think they put that off for now.
Okay.
Is that right? Gray? That 10 acres on
Across the street.
North Main Street, didn't they decide to wait on
At
that?
the corner of Old North Main.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's been put on the back burner for the moment.
okay.
because they had a lot of people that
Yeah.
wanted it left as it is.
Right, or just said, slow your roll, if I remember the quote right. Slow your roll. So,
okay, so let's get back to the checklist. are we satisfied with the way the checklist is, and we want to just have have Gray take it to the next level and see if we can get it put as a checklist on the site plan and subdivision regs? Is that what we want to do?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't, Tyler say that was the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's what Gray said, so, and Gray has actually said it several times.
Right.
So,
Do you need a vote?
I think that if what we did is if we said, okay, the way it is right now, dated March 2025, this is the way it is, and we would, I don't know how we get it attached. How do we get it attached to? This
Well,
site-
they'll be rewriting or redrafting the whole site plan subdivision regulation, so it'll go into that draft that gets proposed to, I think it's planning board.
So, do you know when they're gonna do that?
I don't know right now. I'm sure, I think they're kind of coming up with their timeline, and life kind of resumes after bike week, so we'll see next week if I get an update.
I move that we approve the checklist as presented this evening and direct staff to include it in the draft update materials for site plan development. That works. Does that work, Greg?
I'll second.
Okay, do we wanna have a maintenance,
That can be a second vote.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay,
So, I move that the Conservation Commission checklist for development, what is this, for development, is that how that's gonna be identified? Have a maintenance review schedule for each March to,
To update any information?
well, I was gonna say to verify links and information is still valid. I don't know if you wanna word it better.
No,
If you can find a better way to word it, I'm okay with that.
I think it's fine. I'll second.
okay, the question I have is, when the site plan and subdivision regs are revised, do we want to look at those and then review this checklist and see it, make sure it's consistent with the revision? Because I don't think that, is a planning department gonna look at what we've put in this checklist and say it's consistent with what the site plan and the subdivision, are they gonna look to see if it's, if we're talking the same language here, or are
There's
they gonna?
duplication or something?
Or is it-
So, now that you guys have motioned this to be your final draft and be done, I pass it up to Rob and Tyler. They look over it, review it, make sure that it looks good, and then it will be put into that draft for site plan subdivision regulation.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they're, okay, all right.
Oh, I think to your point also, Dean, when they do the annual maintenance, making sure that it still coincides or is not contradictory to the site plan
And subdivision,
and subdivision rules
right.
as they stand each year. I mean, I don't know how, wow.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna, if we adopt this the way it is, then it goes to Robin Tyler and Gray, and they review it to make sure it's consistent with the site plan and subdivision regs, and it gets
Right.
incorporated.
My motion was specifically to make sure that the links were still valid and all that. So I guess what you're saying is a little bit broader than what my motion was.
I'm not talking about the maintenance part.
Okay.
I'm talking about the part where,
Yes, I know, the initial part where it gets all put together and adopted, and then
Right.
what I was saying was down the road,
right,
a year from now.
Right.
If there are other changes, we want to make sure that this, in addition to whatever changes they make, this still tracks with that. And my motion did not include verification against the existing rules and regulations that are still that are in place. You know what I'm trying?
but Rob and Tyler and Gray are gonna make sure, so,
Well, okay, I'm
Right.
just saying my motion didn't say it that way, but
Right.
I'm fine with it, I'm not gonna,
okay, all right. So,
excuse me.
we have a second for Lisa's motion. Okay, any additional comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, so let's skip over the wetland conservation and water quality and go to, so the NRI, has the NRI RFP gone out?
No, it is not. We have a meeting on the books for, I believe, Friday afternoon or Monday afternoon for the guys to review it, so that I can send it up to Gina to be posted.
So the
So for who to review it?
For Tyler and Rob to review it,
Oh, okay,
and then when they give it the okay, then it goes up to Gina and she posts it.
okay.
So, we have a date of May 12th. Was that contingent upon something else, or does it matter if it gets pushed back?
It shouldn't, and also, if it needs tweaking, they can make that tweak to the dates when they review it, so.
I just didn't know if there was something else that we were like trying to make that date for. Have this in place for that date for a reason, like,
No, it was just the days that when we were working on it, those
Yeah.
were the dates. As
okay.
long as they don't change them, you know, to be 6 months, you know, we want to keep it on track pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay, so in this current draft of the
Is that the old one?
RFP, there's still red, text marked in red and text marked in yellow.
Yep.
And that's just so that,
The guys know
so
what-
that it brings to their attention. Okay,
Yeah.
good, okay. And then, I think most of it, the fonts are all the same. There may be one area where it's not, but anyway. So, good, all right. Thank you, Gray.
Oh.
Thank you. Okay,
So that meeting's Friday, you said?
It should be Friday afternoon. I don't know how Bike Week is gonna affect that, so I'm sure
If it does get moved, it will be moved to Monday afternoon.
Okay.
so if there's any issue, will you let us know?
With the RFP, yeah.
Yeah, so that, yeah, I'll come down and, you know, maybe Deb can come down and anybody else wants to come down and answer any questions so that we can get it going. Okay. Thank you.
Has the planning department been having issues with Bike Week so far?
No, everything has been running smoothly, so.
Okay.
Gray's in charge. It's going smoothly. Okay, so let's go back up to wetland regulations, and we have this document here, and I don't know how, I've gone through it a couple of times and marked up some of the, I don't know what the best way is to do it. You know, certainly I don't wanna go through each one of these and,
What is the what is the water overlay district?
The what?
The water quality
Yeah.
overlay district,
Yeah, I mean, do we have a
like,
map of that or something?
so it's not on the regular zoning map, but it basically covers areas around, like the drinking water that need to be protected.
So Paugus Bays
Yeah.
primarily? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot of area, but it is included. Often you'll see like the SPOD, the Shoreline Protection Overlay District, referenced with the WC. They'll just be like together, so.
So does it include the river?
Off the top of my head, I would have to double check.
And like
Find the
the
map.
area, and, you know, the shoreline of Winnisquam and Opeachy?
I think it's mainly focused around Paugus, because for the water quality is directly tied to the drinking water intake, so I'm pretty sure it's focused over there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I'm pretty sure the WC overlay is focused around the drinking water intake area. So it's pretty focused on Paugus Bay, I believe.
So it does not include Opeachy or,
I'll have to double check and pull up the map, but I can find that tomorrow.
So on page 235-17, C talks about
Yeah.
property, buffers on property with shoreline frontage on Winnipesaukee River from Messer Street to the Lake Winnisquam may be reduced to 15 feet. I mean, so it's mentioning that
Yep.
in there.
Right.
what's she reading?
Page 4 of 8,
Okay,
number C at the top. And it's got,
buffers on
Right.
property,
yeah,
Right.
and it just mentions,
I
Doesn't
don't know why it starts, well, never mind, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so if we're gonna open up a can of worms, let's open up a big can. So, Gray,
Yep.
how can you help us navigate to expand the size of the water quality overlay district to include the river, Opeachy, and the shore of Winnisquam, as well as Paugus Bay,
And what about?
all of Paugus Bay.
Expanding overlay district is definitely a Rob question. I don't know how that process would go, but I can ask him.
I mean, I think if we're gonna try to preserve the water quality in the wetlands, it would be for all the major water bodies in the city. You know, we're the city on the lake, so why don't we?
All right, so. If we just, I mean, I don't know how much you had marked up. I feel like we could go through some of this. Starting on page 1. Under B2, A, it says prevent erosion and sedimentation by stabilizing the soil. I would add, using plants, landscape cover, or whatever. I mean, I think there should be an example of what they could do to stabilize the soil.
You're talking here?
What did you want it to say?
So why don't we do it this way? Why don't we mark up a copy and give it to you so that, then, because, I mean, we'll be here all night talking about stuff.
You don't want to?
Deb's already got a marked up copy.
Well, I
Didn't we
mean,
go through, didn't we look at this already?
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know that we did, but anyway.
Deb, why don't you give me your marked up copy and I'll make those changes and then we'll bring that updated version to the next meeting.
And I'll give you mine too.
I think it might be better if I wrote down the changes
Okay.
so that you could see them out, not incorporate them because we don't wanna just incorporate them because they may not be accepted,
Yeah.
right?
So I have a working draft that we're kind of making whatever you want, and then obviously the original one that's,
So we could use
Standing.
different colors maybe.
yeah, you
Like you
can
did, yeah.
do whatever you want. However you want to give me the changes, I'll make it work.
All right, why don't, okay. Let me think about that. But I mean, you know, there are specific things like on page 4 where it says the city of Laconia has no designated prime wetlands. And we wanna change that.
Well,
Whether we get a scientist in here or not, we wanna change that.
I think, so what I'm hearing is, this isn't just like picking up a word here and a word there and some grammatical stuff. This is more about how do we expand the overlay district? How do we get the approval to have a designation of prime wetlands? That's not like we sit here and we say,
Well-
okay, we're gonna,
Remember I told you how to do that? So, the definition is an area of substantial significance due to their size, unspoiled character, or fragile condition. And you have to conduct a formal study to identify it. It's like a wetland scientist. You have to hold public hearings and vote on the designation. The city has to submit the study map and designation to DES, and then it will receive a special, if approved, it receives special protection and 100% and a 100-foot buffer.
So, did we, I thought at one time we did have designated prime wetlands, or maybe I'm confused with another city,
Which ones?
town. Well, my point is, if we have ever had them, why do we not have them now? What was the impetus behind maybe taking them off being prime, if that ever happened?
I feel like right along it was said that we didn't have any,
Okay.
even in our NRI.
Okay, that's fine, I just
Right?
didn't remember that, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I don't think we've had them.
okay.
But these regulations are from the city, correct? Or from
Yeah.
the state?
These are the cities.
These are the cities. So, I mean, we can't just willy-nilly change them without,
I think
Rob and-
it's like the checklist where you can
propose.
propose a draft of what you want to see, and then we'll see how it's received. So, if you guys want to really come up with a draft, that would be probably the place to start. Or we could do it together by you guys submitting whatever edits you want to see. So yeah, it's up to you.
I mean, I think that if what we're going to do is we're going to update the NRI, and we're going to have a chapter on natural resources for the master plan, that, I mean, if we're gonna update things to, today's standards is the wrong word, but thinking, then, wouldn't this be the time to see if we can change the overlay district? I mean, I think the overlay district should include any area where people have wells, like all that land along Layton Avenue, all those people have wells. So if we're trying to protect drinking water, that should be part of the overlay district. No?
I don't know if that's one thing that you would want to put in the draft. We could add that.
Right.
Yeah.
So wherever, and it's, and I think the other thing is, weren't we gonna have a drinking water aquifer protection?
Right.
Weren't we gonna have an aquifer protection? And so this would all be consistent with having an aquifer protection, because one of the purposes of the aquifer is to supply potable water.
Are you saying like Aquifer Protection Overlay District? But
Yeah,
it
just-
was never adopted?
Yeah, in the city, yeah. When, do you know when that was done?
No, I don't know anything about the Aquifer Overlay. You said it wasn't adopted though?
I don't think it was ever tried.
Yeah.
I think any aquifer that we have, mapped out is from the state, is a state map, maybe.
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, I know there's a big aquifer up at the south end of the city.
Okay.
I would think there would be an aquifer
The
by,
airport.
yeah,
Where?
There's one by the airport, but I don't know if it.
by the airport, and I would think there might be one under Pickle Pond, that area.
I mean, yeah, I think what we could do is we could go to the adjoining municipalities and ask them where their overlay, or where their aquifer protection area is.
Well, Belmont just did that, right? They just revised theirs or
Well,
whatever.
Right,
And Rick was very knowledgeable about that.
And
So-
well, I'm sorry, Dean, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was gonna say Belmont is part of the Belmont Tilton Northfield, they have a huge aquifer overlay district, so.
So it's, if Guilford has one, Belmont has one, and, you know, other adjoining municipalities have one, maybe the whole thing overlaps, and, you know, we're sitting on top of it. You know, it'd be like, over where, the concrete guy, like near you. Gilbert Block. You know,
That's where,
Gilbert Block is, you know, that's all sand over there, so that's gotta be part of an aquifer.
that's where I was saying that's where the
Oh.
aquifer is.
Yeah,
Can you see it? Were you looking at maps?
I'm trying,
I know.
find this on.
Yeah, DES had some mapped out, and that's that's what I have seen. I have not seen one from the city. Maybe we do have one, I don't know. Or maybe we just adopted theirs. But we haven't made a specific district like Belmont has, I know.
Yeah.
I think Gray's right. I think there was a draft that didn't get approved. I think he's right. And so, if we could, you know, I think probably the best thing for us to do is to sit down with Rob and Tyler and say, how do we do this? And, you know, get some direction so that
Yeah.
you guys can help us get, you know,
Where you
get
wanna
this.
go? Yeah.
I wonder if, is that anything that, New Hampshire Conservation Commissions could help us with?
Could be.
I mean, they may have a set, step-by-step, how we do that. But I know, remember I was concerned when they were building those apartments up on the south end there, off Province Street, because that's right over the aquifer.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure they're tied into city water. I know, I'm not sure. Although, the industrial park, they must be tied into city water.
City water go down Lexington?
Not
I
Lexington.
don't know.
The Guilford Industrial Park.
Oh, Guilford Industrial Park.
If city water goes down Guilford?
No, so up at the end of Province Street, you don't know where that is?
Yeah, it's where the new Province Street apartments are up.
Right, the new ones.
Yep.
So, do you know if they're on city water, or did they use a well?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know they were doing hookups at the new condo or apartments they just built up there, so I would assume they're on city water, but I'm not sure.
Well, I think city water goes up there because of the businesses in the business park.
It does. Okay,
I thought.
I mean, that would make sense. By the dog park, yeah.
Well, yeah, because of the dog park, they didn't wanna spend the money to tie into the water.
Gotcha. Where did those apartments tie in, do you know?
I have no idea. That'd be a water department question.
Mm.
Yeah.
Trying to
Oh my
think if I
God, I hate
saw
this.
them. I don't feel like they messed up Province Street. So
No.
maybe there's maybe they tied in like off of the industrial road there.
Could be.
Maybe the best way to do this is to ask Rob and/or Tyler to come to the next meeting. And the next meeting, the first Wednesday is July 2nd, and I don't think we should have it then. I think we should make it July 9th. Make it July 9th, and then ask them to come and guide us, so the three of you guide us through this process of how we expand the overlay district, how we can do a protection district for the aquifers, and prime wetlands. So there would be 3 topics we would want to talk to them about.
Yeah, that
So-
would be good.
So if, because
It's time for them to come to another meeting.
yeah, and if, if we get, if the 3 of you sit down and give us some guidance, then we won't waste your time, and we won't waste our time, developing an approach for prime wetlands by getting a consultant to, do the work that has to be done. I mean, we could actually probably ask whoever gets the NRI to do that task as an out-of-scope item. Help us develop the
I don't see
strategy.
why it couldn't be in scope anyway.
I'm sorry?
I don't see why it couldn't be in scope
Yeah,
anyways. They
Yeah.
might do it as part of their, they actually go out and do,
It's just not on the-
walks and do
Right.
surveying. Yeah, I don't know. Might change the price though, so.
yeah, but I mean, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, that when we interview them, we say, will your study include this?
Yeah.
Could your study include this, yeah?
So here's Guilford's office.
And if that's July 9th, I won't be able to be there. I've got dress rehearsal for the music festival
Okay,
that evening.
The
Okay, so-
music festival.
Yeah,
Here's,
getting ready for the concert on the 10th.
There you go.
here's Guilford's aquifer map. So the key is up on the right-hand side, you have to. Looks like there's 2 different kinds there right on the,
So the Aquifer Protection District or conservation land. I don't see where that's marked. But yeah, see, it's right. It's right under me.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder my garage floods.
I mean, what do you think about the idea of asking Rob and Tyler to come on the 9th? Think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think you should either meet with them to go over changes you want to make at the planning office, or you could invite them to the meeting. But I don't know how long it'll take if you want to go through all that at the meeting.
Yeah, I think,
if you want to actually edit the wetland regulations, that might
Thank you,
be
Lisa.
a meeting just in the planning department. And then the rest of the stuff, like you could ask questions and still have them come to the meeting. I don't know. However you want to do it, really.
Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you explore it with them, ask, and the three of you decide what the best way is to do it, and then tell us,
Okay.
okay?
yeah, we're
And
just
then-
looking for guidance
Okay.
on how, you know, how to approach these things.
I mean, expanding the water quality overlay district may require us to go to the city council.
I'm sure it may, yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. I believe the entire updating these wetland regulations has to go through city council anyway, so, yeah.
Go big or go home.
All right, I'll send
Okay.
you my changes, Gray.
Okay.
And I'll give you mine too, and then,
Okay.
okay. Okay. Where are we here? Here's where we are. So I think we've covered everything on the agenda except for, okay, so there's a natural resource chapter first draft.
Yep. So that was put on just to update that we are working on the first draft of the NRI, or the Natural Resource chapter for the master plan, that RFP I'm getting started on, so. That was the one that, when you guys met with Rob, he said, let's get the NRI RFP out and then let's start on the master plan RFP, so, and including a natural resource chapter in that, so I'm starting the RFP for that as well.
Oh, good, great.
Yeah.
Oh, great, that's great, great, good,
So,
thank you.
so that would be for the master plan?
Yeah, so that's a,
I thought,
like, basically the NRI RFP is like a distance run, and then you can think of the master plan and the chapter as more of a marathon. That's just a longer process, because they're trying to do the entire master plan,
right,
which involves all the departments around the city, so, yeah.
and we're included in that, correct?
It's all of the city, so all departments and all city buildings. It's the entire city master plan, so that goes through its own long process.
Right,
There's a lot of meetings on it, including all departments, and then it finally, I think it goes through city council as well, I would imagine, because, yeah, everyone has to participate.
so the NRI is not in the master plan?
No, so the
Just-
NRI is separate. The chapter, which is the next one I'm working on, that
It's
one
like
is
a-
the master plan.
It's like a quick review of the NRI?
The NRI can be like language about the NRI can be included in the natural resource chapter. That's
I thought
yeah.
that's how it was before.
Yeah, so that's fine. I'm saying but the NRI, this one that we're sending out for should be
Detailed.
should be in the works when we're working on the
Right.
master plan, yeah.
Right.
So yes.
Okay. But the natural resource chapter is just a,
Chapter
Of the larger master plan.
And
right,
are we looking for a consultant to write that?
Yeah, so basically we are asking for consultants. The work that we're going out for is for someone else to meet with the city, meet with the planning department, and then I think also probably talk to you guys, and we'll have several meetings, and they are writing the chapter of the master plan. And then that goes into the full draft, and then hopefully it gets adopted.
So do you have an idea of when that RFP will go out for the master plan, the natural resource chapter?
I'm not sure, so I can like write it, but I still need, it's dependent on the guy's schedule, so I know Tyler's in the middle of doing the master plan RFP, I believe, so like the big one. So I have to wait for him to, he's on a hard deadline, he's working on that. Once he's done with that, him and Rob can review the NRI, and then they can hopefully do this one next, so that's the game plan, but I'll keep you guys updated.
So how many other chapters of the master plan will be prepared by consultants?
So I believe mostly, I don't think the city really uses legal for that, but they basically, consultant, I believe, helps the city write the larger master plan. And then we would just be hiring out our own independent consultant that would have special experience with conservation specifically, or natural resources. Maybe they would have a wetland scientist on their staff if that's something you wanted to put in the scoring. Yeah, so.
Okay. Good, I'm glad you're doing that, thank you.
So, if anyone else has any suggestions on the wetland district, any changes or whatever, we'll just all make sure that Gray gets them, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, liaisons, subcommittee reports, and upcoming events.
All right, so I'm all set with this section. This is you guys. Anything
Sorry?
coming up? So my stuff goes in staff report, so if you guys have anything for this section, it's all you.
Lisa, do you have anything?
I didn't really look in my day planner, I'm sorry.
Oh,
You have anything, Bob?
I mean, we already talked about the gardens.
Yeah.
So, what about the community gardens?
So, oh shoot,
Which,
Good catch.
which community garden?
the one
Big
up
ones.
across from the state school.
Oh, okay.
So the grant funds have been released. I've met with Lisa Landry, who's one of the gardeners, and she's gonna help get the project started on just upgrading the garden area. I haven't talked to the farmer yet about what their plan is for this year. I had gotten in touch with, so Bob Hardy, who's the contact for that Opeechee Bay State Forest at Division of Forest and Lands. I don't think it's called Dancer yet. So anyway, he's retired, so there's a new guy, and I just kind of said, hey, you know, there's all this stuff going on up here with the sale of the property and all this other stuff, and he goes, yeah. So, I mean, I think he's just being new. He's just, you know,
Yeah.
that's a state job kind of thing. Overwhelmed. Can't really get involved. So that's all. I mean, that's as far as I know.
How many gardens do you have going up there?
I don't know. I gotta get in touch with people. I mean, it's part of.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I just couldn't address when I was trying to do other things. So
Right.
we're getting started on that. So Lisa's gone away until the beginning of July. I'll get in touch with people and email them saying, hey, what do you know about what's going on out there? Because honestly, I don't, you know, I know two of the gardeners I know I've got solid contact information for, but some of them just don't want to do email, so I have to either try to catch them. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a significant number, I say significant, there are a number of people that, and I make this point a lot, that just, if they do email, they don't tell you they do email because they don't want that information out there, or their wife or their husband is the only one that does it and they don't, or they just don't do social media. There's a lot more people getting off social media now.
Right.
So, anyway, that's what's going on there. I mean, as far as I know, the farmer's still very interested in keeping that mowed, the whole
Yeah.
thing mode. I did when we attended the meeting of the council to talk about the development of the property, the 10 acres, and
Yeah.
I had stood up and said something about that I was not there to offer my position on that, as far as being an abutter, kind of, an abutter.
Right.
But, you know, and then some people took that opportunity to talk about, wow, it's always trash and everything. It's like, you know, just, But that is true, that there is the opportunity for people to take advantage of that property. And, so that's something I think we need to address. And I know that and I had mentioned this before, that the Winnipesaukee River Basin people had gotten in touch with the city because the access road down to the pump house, people are still like using it as their own, the access road, the edge of it, they're using as their own personal composting of their grass clippings and everything. It's not right on the water, it's
Right,
along the road,
right.
but
Yeah.
it means that the state had to come along and take everybody's trash and
Yeah.
glass couplings and
Yeah.
everything away. So I told them, you know, I told the pump station people, the sewer people, to get in touch with Rob, and, because that was something we had been told when people were dumping on the Anthony Drive, along the Anthony Drive on the stone wall side of the O-Pee-Chee field, that the city should take care of it because the residents are their not problem, but are their purview.
Concern.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
So you got a grant to do,
that was the one that you knew about, Dean.
Right.
The one to do the upgrades, and it supposedly ends September 30th this year, and I'm gonna ask for an extension. The funds had been frozen for a few months because with the change of administration, but now I've been told that that's not, and it was frozen because we had put in a couple of words that were not approved. So it wasn't the project, it was just the language. So, I mean, we're gonna attempt to at least accomplish some of those things, composting site's one of them. So, that's the answer to that.
so why don't you tell us if there's anything we can do?
So, when Lisa Landry, who's the volunteer that's willing to help out with at least the composting project, gets back like the beginning of July, I think, she will pull together some volunteers for a day project, and I'll let you know. So,
And you said it's going to continue to be hayed.
I believe so. I haven't heard anything from the farmer that she's not, and I've driven by her farm several times. I know it's still, you know, she's still there, so.
Yeah, but didn't she have a fire and it burned her barn down?
And
And
that was a while ago.
Yeah.
They had been doing, they put some of that hay into silage. Like, they were storing them silage bales there over the winter and stuff, so, yeah. I mean, our anyway, looking at it is when the development happens across the street, you know, we just wanna make sure that we're in communication with people and that, you know, it doesn't, I'm not really sure where my board wants to go. Right now, everything's in flux. I don't know if my board wants to have actual sit-down conversations with the developers for the project across the street, or if they want to just, you know, be cognizant of, you know, making sure that we're good neighbors, everybody's good neighbors and all that. I don't know. So that's, I apologize. I'm
It
tired,
would be
but.
nice, for them to put in a spigot for you when they're running their water out, so that you could have water on that site.
they have to go under the road.
So when we talked
They're
about,
gonna- I mean, that's where pipes go, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that where
I don't know
water-
I don't know whether they're going under the road for water for the state school property or not, or if they're
They have-
going along the side of the road.
I don't know. I don't know any of that. And the other thing we talked about, Deb, is that how would we control? Because when we talked about with putting in a well, like tapping into the electricity so that we could have a pump and all that other stuff, and then just like, so what do you do about people who just leave it running, and how does the costs and all that other stuff? And so that's why that solar panel setup is more suited to that site because it's not tied to
Right.
costs.
Right.
So Jamie and I talked to the man who runs the garden over by NHTI.
Mhm.
You know, maybe we can get him involved to help out. I mean, he was like,
That was Mr. Hall.
yeah, he's a bulldog.
Yeah, and he got quite perturbed and
Right.
wrote us off.
Hmm.
So,
That's okay.
so,
Time heals.
I don't know. So I had been in contact with the managers for that, and I didn't get it really anywhere. I can talk to Bob Spurl again, and, he's still with the state, although, you know, everybody's getting on in years, but he's still with the state, and I can just ask him, you know, what
I
we
could-
should do.
I could envision, you know, if you get apartments built across the street and, you know,
Mhm.
for retirees or whatever, I can envision them wanting to have their own little plot.
Well, we've had conversations, like I said, everything is just nebulous right now, but
Right.
my board has had conversations about, you know, so, and also our
And I-
agreement runs until 2036 unless somebody wants to terminate it earlier at the state, you know, so.
Right.
Everything is in flux, but we got this immediate thing is we've got a grant and we're
Right.
working on it.
Well, that's good. It would be nice, you know, since you guys lost a lot of funding and everything, it would be nice to see a group like some Master Gardeners or somebody take it over. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just, the reason why I shook my head is the Master Gardeners are, I don't wanna say they're defunct in Belknap County, but they're not active in Belknap County to the best of my knowledge.
For the same reason, people are getting older. Same people are doing the same thing,
And,
doing things.
yeah, I mean,
But
so-
maybe it's time we teach some young people.
Well, I mean, I
No
think
question.
that's where Prescott Farm, I mean, I think Lauren McCabe is doing a really good job,
Mhm.
and there are people involved, and Dean, you're involved, so I mean, I think that may be the avenue, for a lot of this outreach to young people, and also the farm to school, so I can give you an update on that, because Laconia is one of the schools, so we've come together. Laconia, Guilford, and, Winnisquam already had a pretty good plan.
Right.
So they're not as active with us right now, but we're gonna be preparing a report that has the action plan for the three schools, Winnisquam, Laconia, and Guilford, for farm-to-school activities, which include gardens and all this other stuff, so, and unfortunately, the follow-up to this action planning grant was an implementation grant, which the goal was to then, once we had this action plan, was to write an implementation grant proposal. But the Trump administration did away with the implementation grants. So we're now working to kind of create this mosaic list of different grants that they could go to. So that is happening, that education on gardening for students, so.
Were you involved in the planting at Pleasant Street? Pleasant Street has a garden now?
Well, farm to school, people who are participating in our farm to school action planning were, I
Okay.
personally wasn't.
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
if people were part of that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
that's it.
We will start with the O-Pee-Chee boat ramp the end of June, that last week of June. I have somebody that's all set for the weekends, to work the weekends, which is good. They're also working a couple days a week at Winnisquam. Gray, do you know if that check went down to New Hampshire Lakes? Because I know it did.
Yeah,
Okay, because as of last Friday, it still wasn't on the books, but that's okay.
okay,
But it was sent out.
yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
So, next weekend,
Yeah. Next weekend?
is it next weekend?
2 weeks, right? Where are we?
So we're,
Oh, we're here.
we're at the
Yeah, it's
20th.
so next weekend. And, yeah,
28 and 29,
correct.
okay.
And, yeah, I talked to her today, so she's all set with that.
Good.
So.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else? Greg, you're up.
All right.
So, per your questions last meeting, I got some answers for you. How long does the RFP have to be posted or open? Is there a minimal time? Gina said 10 days is the minimum, so it has to be open and posted for at minimum 10 days. You asked, can Concom send the RFP to consultants directly, inviting them to submit a proposal? The answer is yes. From vendor selection, how long does it take to get the contract signed? Rob said it takes about a couple days. It's not that long a turnaround once the person is, or the group has been selected. Does city council have to approve or have a public hearing for the contract with the consultant? He said no. And then lastly was about if there was money left in the budget in the milfoil budget to send over to Winnisquam Watershed Network for milfoil. And I think you said Lisa had asked for $7,000, and Rob said no, there is unfortunately no money left in the milfoil budget because our fiscal year starts July 1, but we already got our invoice from Aqualogic for the down payment for them to start their milfoil dash coming up here in a couple weeks or a few weeks. So we didn't have enough money to do the full down payment. I think it was $14,000 or $15,000. So we worked it out with Aqualogic so that we could pay half. So we paid $7,500, so that was the remainder of the budget, and then DES paid the other half directly. So unfortunately, we are looking at $0 left to contribute to Winnisquam, but we did get the down payment taken care of at least, so Aqualogic can start the work here in Paugus. They're going to start on the north end, Dominic told me, and work their way down.
So up by the weirs, and then they're gonna work their way down.
Yeah, they're gonna start with the violet, with the
Yeah, right.
water violet. Yeah. So he said that's what they're gonna start with, and then go to the milfoil. So there's only a couple
Do they harvest
places.
that the same way?
I was gonna ask him about that. He had actually invited me to come out, meet the team, and watch them do their work one day. So I'm hoping that I can find time in the schedule to go out with them for a day and check that out. So I'll find out and I'll report back.
I do have one more thing to tell you, if you're ready.
Sure.
So I attended, last week I attended the Lakes Region Planning Commission had a by invitation meeting on recycling plastics, boat plastics.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I did go to that. And the speaker was a woman from Barnstable, Massachusetts area, because they do recycle plastics there. And she just kind of talked about the challenges and everything. And I specifically went because somebody had asked me, why don't you go and find out about ag plastics? And it kind of was the same thing of, well, it depends on how dirty it is, and it's hard to find a vendor. She said the most important thing to do is you've got to find your vendor first, and then you can decide what your program's gonna be, based on what the vendor says they all are willing to do. So you tailor your recycling program to what the vendor says they're willing to do, because there are so few vendors. But one thing I thought was interesting, she was talking about that I think they also recycle Christmas string lights, like they were recycling other things and just,
Yeah.
so I thought that was interesting, because I thought that might be a program that could be, maybe we can't do the plastics because of this, but.
You're limited. I
So-
wonder who the vendor is for when the church, UC Church, whatever it is on Pleasant Street,
Yeah.
they take the soft plastics once a month
Yeah,
and they send,
It's the
and,
UU.
Unitarian Universalist, yeah.
but they, and they, supposedly their vendor sends them to Trex.
Yeah,
they
and
make
that's,
those. So, would they take that kind of plastic?
they might, she did talk about that Trex was one of the kind of modified board kind of companies what take the boat plastics. The boat plastics are number 5. I don't know what the UU Church collects, but,
Yeah.
so
I thought
anyway,
it was anything soft.
Well, I also talked about, somebody was talking about, there's a boat plastic now that is impregnated with, I wanna say an enzyme, maybe a bacteria, to make it biodegradable.
Right.
So but
Also heard
it's a little bit more expensive per foot, but not
tremendously.
exactly, and when you consider how much people are already paying for stuff,
Right.
those people probably have the money to pay the little bit extra.
If you got that boat,
Hmm?
if you have that boat,
Well, that was kind of the point. So anyway, Matthew Rose is the contact at Lakes Region Planning Commission to follow up with him if anything of that is of interest to you. I don't think they recorded the program, but he has all
I
the.
think, maybe I read a
there was an
review
article
of
in
it,
the paper.
and maybe that was it, where they said that when they first started doing the shrink wrap, that they had a vendor, that somebody, there was some place that they could send this, and then that went defunct. So now it's a problem.
Yeah, and they were talking about too.
You're laughing at it.
Made me laugh.
It's kind of one of those market-driven things too, kind of like when
Right.
the bottom fell out of glass and nobody wanted to take glass jars and stuff. Anyway, I'm sorry,
Except for Guilford.
I'd forgotten about that.
Okay, so, did you finish, Greg?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
all set. I'm just waiting on you guys.
Okay, so, what's your schedule next week?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about doing water sampling. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking about,
Monday I can do.
what?
I can do Monday.
Okay, okay. All right, what I'll do is I'll reach out to Winnisquam Watershed Network and see, we did a training yesterday with, Liam. And there were 5 people there. So I might be able to get one of those people to help us.
Yep.
So that we have 3 people, because I think it's much easier if we have 3 people.
Yeah.
Laura gone?
Laura's,
Away?
yeah, she's gonna be away. I saw her today in the store and she can't do it.
And then, was Winnisquam Watershed gonna borrow one of our meters or something?
Yeah, so Winnisquam is gonna borrow one of our meters on the 24th.
Okay.
Their meter is kaput.
Okay.
And, the one thing
That's
that,
Tuesday.
right, Liam said was that we have 14 days from the time we collect the samples until he has to have them so they can start doing their analysis. 14 days. We have to keep them on ice during that time. So we could put them in a refrigerator and leave them there. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I had that kind of stuff in my refrigerator. And it's probably a lot better than some of the other stuff that's in there. But anyway, so,
In the refrigerator or in the freezer?
in a refrigerator.
Okay. You said keep them on ice, I was like,
Yeah, he's keeping them on ice, but
Oh.
not to freeze them.
my ice is in the freezer.
So, okay, so I'll see if I can get somebody to help us, and we'll go out and do it. And then, what about the deep water samples?
So June was already taken care of between, I think it was FB maybe participated because Bree was trying to coordinate with the water department and FB for the drinking water
Right,
buoy.
that's right, that's right.
So
You're
they
right.
went ahead and they took care of June, and she let me know that they weren't gonna go, and then they were gonna go, and then I was gonna go with them, and then she was like, I guess it's off now. There's weird numbers with the boat and figuring stuff out, and then she let me know that they took care of June. Don't worry about it, but I'll go out with them for July. So
Okay, and so you can have all the stuff you need to go out
Yep.
with them,
that's Bree has all the equipment for deep water sampling.
right?
Yep.
Okay, okay, good. Thanks for doing that. Okay. I thought there was a discussion with Bree about doing near-shore samples.
If you mean like the samples out near shore, I think had to do with FB and a different project that is their side. I don't think it had to do with any of our programs.
Oh, okay, because we used to do near-shore samples,
My knees hurt.
We have VRAP, and then one of their organizations is also participating in VLAP, so they're doing lake testing, which would be, I'm pretty sure, this shore samples. So I think that's them, but not us.
so you think that VLAP is being done by FB?
I don't know if it's FB, or it could be LWA. That would be a something to confirm with Bree, because
Okay.
when we were discussing it, I think Liam said that one of the programs, was it Winnisquam Watershed Network?
They do near-shore. but
Yeah.
In Winnisquam.
Yeah, so that they might do the VLAP then, because that's the lake sampling program. So.
Yeah, so I think that they're the group from Winnisquam Watershed Network that does VLAP, and then there's a separate group that does VRAP.
Yes. I just don't know who the groups are, but I do know they do.
I know who they are. so-
Okay,
so,
okay, you got it.
yeah, okay. But I'll check, you want to check with Bree, or you want me to check with Bree?
To ask if they're doing the shore sampling?
The near-shore, yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
have
I
to talk
thought
to
part
her
of it,
about
I
sampling.
thought part of
anyway.
it was for Langley Cove.
Right, I
So,
thought it
yeah,
was Langley
they-
Cove and then maybe near the intake.
Yeah, and so that was discussed, and I'm just not clear if that is data that FB is going to be keeping or LWA, because that conversation was kind of included in the conversation about the new buoy. So
Yeah,
I would
feel
have
like-
to ask who's in charge of that program, but I do know they were looking at testing in Langley. Yeah, and I know FB wasn't he working on something with Resort on the Bay with the Rich Tilton's
Yeah.
place also to
Yeah.
do something with the
Yeah,
bridge.
because they,
so.
Rich Tilton and LWA, I think, got a grant to do,
Yeah, so I don't know. It could be DES themselves doing it. I don't know if they're involved, but
we're gonna have to get a roster with all the people and give them uniforms of numbers.
I know we're gonna need a directory.
I think we need a Paugus Bay group.
That'd
You
be
know,
nice.
every lake has their association
Yeah.
except for Paugus Bay.
Maybe the way to do
I
I
don't
that,
even
know.
know how you start one.
maybe the way to do that is through the water department.
Maybe. If you made it specific to like the intake. I don't know. How did LOPA get established?
How did what?
LOPA, how did they establish themselves?
Lake Obici.
I think,
It was
I
through the
think,
residents.
I think that, yeah, I think they just,
I think,
So, Pox
think-
could do something like that.
I think it would have to be, I think, you know, somebody like Rich Tilton, who's done a lot of stuff anyway,
Yeah.
whether he started it, and, because I'm sure there's like groups on the other side that would, you know, belong, and,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, there's a
it
lot
might
more.
be, it might be a fundraising thing too,
Could be.
you know, I mean, that would help cover the costs of milfoil and water violets.
you see, Rich Tilton did that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the water,
Right.
did the fundraising
He
and
did the
all that.
contracts and everything.
He did everything, and, you know, he just said, I don't have time to do this. And he keeps going to the same people asking for money.
But if it was a whole association, I don't know, it's a thought. Get more people involved in the health of the lake, instead of just putting their boats in.
Don't you think President Deb Williams has a ring to it?
I don't live on Paugus Bay.
Don't sweat the details.
That's what
It's
the
not a,
details
it's not a
are.
prerequisite.
You can get a second home. Probably a
Oh, sure.
condo over there.
Yeah, yeah, you could just, you know, set up a tent.
The-
Okay.
The
any-
glamping is out, right? That project isn't happening, right?
Yeah, no glamping.
Okay, anything else? You're good, Gray?
Yep, I'm all set.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great, thank you.
So did we settle on July 9th, even though Bob won't be here?